We are live. What is up, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see you. Let me just say, for the very beginning of the stream, I cannot guarantee. I got poverty internet right now. Okay? I moved into this building, moved into the new apartment, and this unit is supposed to come with its own Wi-Fi. And so, I thought that everything was good. We'd be chilling. But the Wi-Fi that's attached to this unit, or the internet rather, is not actually like ready to go for some reason. And so obviously I aired it out. I let my grievances be heard to management. But Friday is when the technician's going to be coming by to actually install the modem or the module, the unit, whatever it is, and so that I can actually have a stable internet connection, a legitimate one that's wired through the building, so I'll have a good connection. Right now I'm using AT&T Air. Shit is trash. Okay, and I've had AT&T phone service for the longest time. Shit is trash. So I'm saying this at the beginning of the stream. If I drop frames, if it's laggy, if it's not good, I apologize. I hope that we can make it through the first hour or two of the stream. It's going to be a stream that's going to go all the way up until the Fresh and Fit show tonight. So we'll probably end around 11:30, whatever that is. However, I hope we can make it that far. So just bear with me. All right, I hope it's smooth right now. I hope you're able to get it in 1080p, 60 frames per second, because I'm not streaming in 4K. I never have. I'm actually always in 1080p for the sake of running everything at the same time and not having hiccups. So let's hope that this is, going to be a stable stream. But yeah, this is the new place. What do you guys think, huh? What do we think? Not bad. Not too shabby, huh? I'm realizing I should probably move the chat over because it's covering the sign. Maybe that's better. Not bad, right? Not so bad. We're in the new place. I saw a comment. I'm always seeing comments. Some nigga was like, finally, you moved out of your parents' house. Nigga, I was in another apartment. Anyways, so yeah, this is the new place. This is the new place. Not very far from where I was previously, literally down the street. But I'm in the living room. So I don't know how the audio really sounds. Okay, I know, very professional of me. I might have to get audio foam for the wall because this is an open concept apartment. It's very wide, not many walls. And so I don't really know how good I sound right now. I might sound a little bit too echoey, or, maybe there's too much reverb going. I don't know. I'm going to have to listen to the stream after and then make adjustments, okay? So really, really big upgrade. I think this is a nice setup, okay? You got the city behind me. Pretty fire. Pretty fire. And I got the little lamp right there. Got the Riyadh's report sign. The camera's kind of off. I wanted it a little bit more that way, but it's okay. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the streams a lot more now. Someone says it sounds perfect. All right, awesome. Yeah, I don't think that I need sound foam or audio foam. You guys may not be able to notice, but if I were to add audio foam to all these walls around me and this wall next to me, it would sound a little crisper. But I'm sure it's fine for now. So that'll be an upgrade down the line. We'll venture out to different things like that. Not necessary. But yeah, we set everything up. I've got a fourth monitor now that's right above the middle and right facing monitor. So when I do stream with anybody, when I'm on with Myra, when I'm on with Sneeko, I can look at both chats. I can do a million things without having to sacrifice the screen that I'm sharing. So very nice setup here. I'm going to take a POV picture and put it on X so you guys can see. But I think you can see it in that YouTube post I made. But really, really happy, man. Look, moving was... Oh, my God. Why didn't anybody remind me moving is horrible? Some of the worst 48 hours of my life. I mean, so I moved on. I'll give you guys a little bit of a, 72-hour relapse. And then we'll actually get into everything that I wanted to talk about. Because I missed so much damn news. And it's because of the internet and everything. But right, so Friday I moved. Juneteenth, right? On Juneteenth I moved. And Thursday I'm obviously getting ready for Friday. So Thursday evening, right after work, around 5 or 6 o'clock, I skipped the gym. I'm like, I can't go to the gym. I got to get everything ready to move. So I got all these boxes. I got all these bins. Brother, why did I forget how difficult moving was? Like, absolutely, my back fried right now. My back is cooked. Like, I just came back from a workout. I feel fine, thank God. But Like I'm lifting dumbbells and I'm like, yo, I gotta really watch my movement. So my back is cooked. I'm putting all my stuff into all these boxes and I'm just crashing out as I'm doing it because I'm like, why do I have so much shit? You know, you forget about all the things you have when you're moving. You're opening cabinets, you're opening drawers. You're like, what is this? I threw so much shit out. Man, it wasn't fun. And then obviously you get all of the stuff into the truck and then you get it into the new place and then you unpack it. And right here, everything here, this whole streaming setup took me 3 hours to set back up because obviously I have a new rig now. I have a new, I'm not sure what you would call it. The thing that clamps to the desk that actually holds the mount for the monitor, whatever you call it, a rig. I don't know what it's called. But I set that up in the new monitor and I'm like, you know, I have millions of wires down here, obviously, because I'm running a streaming setup. It's not super complex, but, you know, there's a little bit of complexity to it. And, you know, I'm like figuring out which wire goes where. And I'm like asking my mom, like, where did this wire go? And yes, I did not hire movers. Okay. No, I moved out with my parents. My parents helped me move from my first apartment to my second. This is my second. And they insisted on helping me. I told them like, yo, bro, I could just hire movers. Like, it's not that deep. But my parents are very like mobile and active. God bless them. They're very like, no, we want to help you. So shout out to my mom and my dad. We broke our backs getting this apartment set up. Moving the couch in was very difficult. Almost didn't get it in. My mom set everything up as we were doing all the heavy lifting and back and forth. She was like placing all the stuff in the kitchen and everything. So I'm like calling my mom because she set up like the whole apartment. God bless her. She set up like everything as me and my dad were doing all the heavy lifting, and she did lifting too. And I'm like calling her like, Mom, where's my razor? Mom, where's my brush? Mom, where's my comb? You know, where's my headphones? Where's the charger for this? Where's the pen for that? You know, like, so I'm going to be calling her for the next 2 weeks, asking her where shit is. Because if you asked me where stuff is in this apartment, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Got a new bed. Got a metal frame on Amazon, gets the job done. And I'm only mentioning this because obviously my previous backdrop was my broken ass bed. Although it wasn't bad. People were hating, yo, the previous backdrop wasn't that bad. Albeit, look, bedroom is not so professional. So I took it upon myself to make sure. That was a large motivation for moving. People think that I moved just because like I'm trying to be this Forex nigga. No, I really moved so that the quality of the stream could be better. There was not much space for me to set up some like kind of nice backdrop in my old apartment, and a 2-bedroom is just kind of like it's just not worth it where I live. It's not that it's out the budget, it's just ridiculously expensive. A 1-bedroom is already ridiculously expensive. And so I found this as I was touring my apartments or on my apartment hunt at the end of my lease, and I immediately clocked it. I was like, oh, I could put the desk right there. I could put the couch right there. So it's set up really nicely. You know, the living room is right in front of me, then the kitchen, and it's great. But I hope you guys like it. I see a lot of positivity in the chat, a lot of positive feedback. So I'm really, really happy about it. Yeah, we'll see what we're going to do with the lamp and shit. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. You know, it's the beginning. We'll see. You know, I have these LED lights, these light strips, not like the strips that you stick, but like the light bars. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with them. But, you know, we got the lighting set up. Hopefully it looks good. I don't know. Is the ISO good? What do you think? Should I get a little lighter on you guys? No. That's too much. Too much. I think right there. Ooh, that's a little cinematic. I'm liking that. You guys liking that? No. Go up. They're going to make the black jokes. Okay, let me just move this here. But yeah, hopefully stream is smooth. Hopefully we don't drop any frames. Because like I said, we're on poverty internet right now. But had it not been for streaming, I would have just waited until Friday. And obviously, like I have to work and stuff. I work from home some days. I would just go to like the lobby in the building or like a workspace in the building. I wouldn't do all this. You know what I mean? So it's all for the stream. I have AT&T 5G Internet Air. Brother, trash. And I'm like on Reddit. And everybody's like, yo, this internet's the best. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me do it. I go to AT&T. I literally walk in. I'm like, nigga, I need internet today. And the guy is like, yeah, we got you. We'll hook you up. You know? So I set this internet up. Absolute garbage. My upload speed earlier today, it went up tonight. Thank God. Prayers answered. Alhamdulillah. Bro, earlier, my upload speed was 3 megabytes per second, I think is what that's how you designate it, right? It was horrible. horrible. I mean, even just like streaming, not streaming, but like any streaming website, like YouTube, anything, super slow. And so I'm like, damn, I just can't go live until Friday. But last minute tonight, the internet speed shot back up. I'm like, all right, this is my chance. So yeah, it is poverty internet. So if we have hiccups, if we have cuts, I apologize. I'm working with what I can work with. There's literally nothing I can do. I've like exhausted all possibilities at this point. So I got this cheap internet. Well, it's actually not cheap. It was like $100 down payment, which for internet's kind of expensive. It's like $60 a month internet. It's not trash. And, you know, I got the Ethernet situation and everything. So hopefully it's decent is what I'm trying to tell you. I know I'm yapping here. But yeah, new setup. I really, really love it. I really love it. And I took a lot of time. It's so funny. We moved in. The first thing I did was set the desk up and the monitors. And like, I didn't worry about anything else. The TV got mounted last. You know, I can't even work the TV because my mom took the remote with her. So I gotta wait. I gotta wait to get the remote from my mom. So I can't even work the TV. But, you know, set up the bed and everything. But the streaming setup came first because I was just really concerned, like, all right, how can I set the camera up? How will this look good? But I really love it. You got this nice little corner right here, very tucked, very cute, very neat, cutesy corner. And then, you know, you got the city backdrop. I told you niggas. I told you guys, I said, guys, I'm moving in the middle of the summer, or the middle of June, rather, and you're really going to love the new setup. It's going to be a city backdrop. I mean, I spoke it into existence. I'm really like that, nigga. So, really happy about it. Really happy about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have moved. But this is like such a W. This is so just aesthetic. I can't get over it. I'm self-glazing. I know it's actually probably getting annoying if you're listening, but it's amazing. It's amazing. So, shout out to all of you guys for making this possible. And of course, I'm always grateful. I'm ever grateful for all the support that I receive, whether it's a night where I have tons of viewers or a night where I have just a few. I'm always so happy to be here. So God bless all of you guys for supporting the movement and supporting the show. You're making this all possible. And it's been a rough beginning to the week, you know, just like moving and everything. But I really, really love this setup. So I don't know if I'm going to leave the LED red, or maybe I'll do blue, purple. I like the Miami colors, you know, like the cyan blue and the like light purple. Is that what it is? Is that what you call it? So I'll see what I can do. But regardless, the foundation is there. It's good as it sits now. But yeah. So that's really that. You know, I'm back. We're here. And in regards to the schedule, I'll just say this at the beginning because I understand that the schedule has been highly inconsistent, and I want to first and foremost apologize for that. You know, it's tough. Look, I work a full-time job, and the news is not always hustling and bustling and super pressing, really, besides the Iranian conflict. If you've always paid attention to news, it's been a rather slow news cycle for the last 4 or 5 months. So I apologize for the inconsistent schedule, but again, like I said, working a job and then seeing what's in the news and whether I'd go live on a weekday or on a weekend, it's been tough for me to kind of balance. So kind of ignore the schedule in the cover photo of my YouTube page where it says Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or I think it says Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Just ignore it. I'm going to aim to go live 3 to 4 times a week. That's the goal. I'm going to try and do that. We'll see how many streams we can squeeze out this week with the poor Wi-Fi that I've been supplied with. But regardless, I suppose it's working now. And by the way, the camera quality is like better. Am I crazy? I feel like it's better here. Maybe it's just because placebo, right? Because I like the backdrop more. But yeah, I was playing with the camera settings. I've gotten good with that stuff. TPC taught me a lot. So he's probably going to help me dial it in a little bit. I'm going to hit him up. But regardless, and that's the guy who helps me and my brother, or my brother and I, with our setup, our lighting, the backdrop, the aesthetic, you know, all the angles. He like specializes in that stuff. His name is TPC Films. So shout out to him. TPC Films on Instagram. Really, really knows what he's doing. Guy's a professional. He helped me with all this. So yeah. But anyways, let's get into all the stuff that you're here for. I missed so much news. It's crazy. I really didn't miss that much news, but there have been some key developments in the Iranian conflict. The biggest thing is that the Memorandum of Understanding has been signed by the President of the United States and has been signed by this Iranian delegation, that being the foreign minister, the parliament speaker, and other Iranian officials that are a part of these negotiations, these complex negotiations that have been taking place in Geneva, Switzerland. And there was actually just a development about 15 or 20 minutes ago out of CNN and New York Times. So we're going to read that. But I'm going to take you guys all the way back through last week and how we got to this week. So forgive me if I skip over some micro developments or some facts here and there. I know all of it. I've been following it closely, but just for the sake of time and how behind I am, I don't want to go into everything in the greatest detail because it's become nauseating. And really, I'll just kind of give you the bigger picture, and then we'll go into what's happened today, what happened with Trump, and what happened with his meeting today. He was talking to the press out of the Oval Office, and then J.D. Vance was also talking in, I believe, Qatar, and he was condemning Israel, which is a big deal, right? But I'm going to give you the whole thing about that. So we'll talk about all of that, and I have a lot of stuff I want to react to. I had all these Iranian soccer fans fighting that, the diaspora people versus the IRGC people, i.e. the real niggas versus the bitch niggas. It's a joke. It's a cute joke. But we'll look at all of that stuff. So it's going to be a good stream. Not too long, not too short. We'll go for as long as we really need to here, as long as the internet allows us to. But internet will be solid on Friday. So if we do have any hiccups or any issues, expect that to be resolved by Friday. But I'm making do with what I have right now. And I really appreciate all the patience. Let's see. We have some chats in here. So let me get to these really quickly before we get into all of the developments. Let's see. Ivan Leal says, no excuse. Get a Starlink for future use. Okay, maybe I'll do that. Thanks, Ivan. Unknown Yay says, may Allah increase you in wealth, brother. I am happy for you moving in, and I hope you settle in properly. May Allah bless you and your family. Wa iyak, ya akhi. Wa iyak, bro. May Allah bless you as well. Barakallahu feek, bro. I appreciate that. God bless, and thank you for the super chat. Inshallah, for you and I both, Allah increases us. Iron Bro says, thoughts on Gus Fring accepting Islam? I saw that. I didn't really think anything of it. I saw that earlier today. I don't pay attention to that stuff, honestly. I'm indifferent. POV, it's a good thing, of course, alhamdulillah, right? But I'm indifferent to that. POV of an ant says, thank you for the big super chat, $50. Whoa, man. Rich guy over here. Thank you so much, man. God bless. He says, congrats on the new place, Riyadh. I just moved into my new house last week. You got hamsters on wheels powering up your internet right now, LMAO. Yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it. That's how it feels. All day today, because I work from home, all day today, you know, the internet would go from like super good speed to trash speed to super good speed, but I have noticed it's a lot more stable and consistent at night. And I think it's because it's that 5G AT&T Wi-Fi or internet. So I think it shares like the same signal as people who are using their phones. I think, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but something like that. So, you know, it's shaky, but it's working right now. Obviously, I think it's saying the stream health is good. Inshallah, it stays that way. Prayers that we can make it through the stream. Seriously. But yeah, it's not a house. Someone says congrats on the house. It's an apartment. I'm high up. I'm on a higher floor. So, hence the nice backdrop. I can't get over it. I really love it. And like I said, the main motivation for moving into this apartment was largely just so I can have a nice streaming backup or background, which now I think I do. I think you guys can agree with that. Yeah, thank you so much for the super chat, Ant, and everybody else who's showing love. Really appreciate it. Glad you guys could hang on and be a little bit patient as I got everything acclimated and set up. So we're settling in. My back still hurts from moving for like 2 days straight, but it's okay. Hire movers. Honestly, word of advice, before we do the news, word of advice, hire movers. Literally hire a mover. Don't do it to yourself, gang. Because I'm standing there, you know, with my hands on my hips. I'm like, bro, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm young. I'm 24. I'm strong. I'm going to do this. Like, this is, how hard could it be? Learn my lesson. Safe to say I learned my lesson. You know, in a lot of pain. Like, my hands are stiff and sore from, like, gripping shit and moving it. I sound like such a pussy, but that's really just what it is. I'm not a blue collar farmer. So, but yeah. And if I'm slow to like kind of pull something up or I'm like confused on which screen to look at, I have a whole new setup. So just bear with me with that as well. Because the chat is over here. And then what I'm looking at on my computer is over here. And my OBS or the streaming service that I'm using, or whatever you would call it, really, the service that's connected to YouTube that allows me to stream, is directly in front of me. And then I have a monitor up here for miscellaneous. So forgive me if I'm a little bit slow with things. But we will take a look at this article by New York Times. I'll admit this is from the 21st. It's a little bit old now, but it kind of highlights the bigger picture as to what is in the way of all of these peace negotiations and these complex talks actually taking the next step. Obviously, we've spoken about it continuously and ad nauseum, so I won't bore you with the whole monologue on this specific topic just yet, but we'll read this and then I'll give you guys my thoughts. So right here, this is from New York Times. And of course, it reads exactly what we would expect it to say in a time like this. Israel directs its military to limit its actions in Lebanon, though tensions persist. So we'll quickly just read through this. The fighting between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah appeared to ease on Sunday, a day after the Israeli government directed the military to restrict itself to defensive actions only in Lebanon. There were no reports of Israeli attacks on Lebanon or Hezbollah strikes on Israelis by late afternoon. Still, it was not clear whether the new directive announced late on Saturday would resolve the friction that led to deadly clashes on Friday, and Saturday threatened to derail a preliminary U.S.-Iran peace deal. And if you weren't paying attention to what happened on Saturday, at around noon or late morning Eastern time, we were getting breaking news, really, of the headline that Israel was bombing and fighting Hezbollah again, mainly in the province of what I believe to be Nebatia. And right after, Donald Trump was, of course, frustrated. He threatened Iran as a result, instead of actually responding to the aggressor of the situation, the people who were actually derailing and sabotaging his hard to work for, hard fought peace plan, which is the MOU that we're seeing now. And so Trump responded to that. And honestly, Israel has been straddling the line of destroying and sabotaging everything that the U.S. worked so hard for all of last week. They were launching attacks against Hezbollah. Obviously, they still have control of the Balfour Castle. They are looking to take over more infrastructure east and west of the Balfour Castle and move north of the Litani River. They are requesting that Hezbollah remove all presence north of the Litani River. And if you don't know, Israel has now, after their aggressive campaign on southern Lebanon, really created a buffer zone for everything that is existent south of the Litani River in southern Lebanon. A lot of Christian villages, a lot of Muslim provinces, a lot of Shia provinces, and of course, most importantly, Israel's main motivation for being there, allegedly, is these Hezbollah strongholds. Uh-oh. Did I just drop? Okay, we're good. Is these Hezbollah strongholds. So, you know, that's kind of the situation there. Of course, we weren't surprised. There's no surprise there. A lot of people thought that the peace deal wouldn't even hang on until the weekend, but it seems like we're good, and we're having talks right now in Switzerland. But, you know, you see all of this, and so you think, okay, maybe Israel is going to let go a little bit, but Israel has claimed since the weekend and today, Benjamin Netanyahu, and really this entire time, Benjamin Netanyahu has promised, look, yeah, we won't go as hard, but we're not about to just take our hands off of Lebanon. And I've told you this before, Israel has made an outstanding amount of progress in southern Lebanon, more progress than they have made in really recent history. You know, the Beaufort Castle, however you want to pronounce it, is a stronghold that Israel previously had back in 2000. And so it's the first time in 26 years that Israel has had so much control and autonomy in southern Lebanon. And they have the correct motivations for it, because Hezbollah has obviously ramped up their aggression in response to Iranian, or really the Iranian leader being killed, that being Ali Khamenei. And so as a result, Israel has had all the more reason to actually ramp up their campaign in southern Lebanon, and they made progress. And so if Donald Trump is choosing a time for this memorandum of understanding, which is a 60-day buffer to further cement a permanent peace deal, it's not a good time for Israel. And we all know Israeli media, Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir have all been very upset. Mark Levin as well. We're going to watch him chimp out in just a moment. We'll react to that. I have that queued up. All of these Israel firsters are not happy about this MOU, and they're saying it's too early. It's not the time. Israel is facing a national security threat. They're facing an issue on their northern border. They're facing an issue on all of their borders. They're being oppressed. And as they say this, they've been encroaching on those same borders for the last 30 or 40 years, trying to take over. And the situation between Israel and Lebanon has really ramped up since the October 7th attacks. And ever since then, Israel has been systematically weakening the axis of resistance, which is Hezbollah, the Houthis, the mobilization forces in Iraq, Hamas. Israel has been systematically destroying leadership that is key for the axis of resistance to survive and thrive, and actually oppose Israel in their mission of encroachment upon every border that neighbors the country. And obviously, direct examples of this can be the killing of Qasem Soleimani in 2020, largely led by the U.S., Donald Trump taking responsibility, or at least that's what the narrative seems to be. But it's all motivated by Israel, and the reason that we're there and we're helping them is because of their offensive against these proxy groups. And obviously in 2024, around November, I believe, they killed the leader of Hezbollah, who was very influential and a key driving factor of Hezbollah's strength, their unity, and their military direction, that being Hassan Nasrallah. And so after killing these guys, they knew that they were setting up the chessboard just perfectly for them to make the final strike eventually at some point. And that's why they've been motivating this war with Iran. Obviously, Operation Rising Lion, the 12-day war, Israel has been very aggressive against Iran after the October 7th attacks because Iran has been funding their proxies a lot stronger in regards to what some people say is a support for Palestinian people. Interestingly enough, though, Iran has not made Gaza a pressing issue for these peace negotiations. I'm not condemning Iran for that or anything like that. Look, it's their prerogative. They got so much that they can only deal with. So it's important that they don't bite off more than they can chew when it comes to the negotiating table, as the United States has been pretty maximalist and has not been willing to concede on anything until now. But the main thing to understand here is Israel is systematically destroying every single opposing force in the region. And right now, they're the furthest they've ever been. I mean, think about it. They dragged the United States into a war in the Middle East against Iran, something the previous presidents refused to do. Donald Trump was the one to actually cave and step over the line and do it. And they've gotten the U.S. so deeply involved to the point where now, Donald Trump is threatening to send them back to the Stone Age and bomb their energy infrastructure and bomb them in the Strait and do all of these things. And so Israel has dragged the United States deeply into the conflict, so deeply involved to the point where now we are desperately trying to wedge out of it, but it's impossible now. We've started something that we effectively have struggled to finish, and so we're trying to take this political off-ramp, but this political off-ramp has been a complete loss for the United States. If you haven't been paying attention, I tweeted up on X about 2 or 3 days ago a little bit of a conclusion, or a better point to understand as to why this war has been such a loss for the United States. Despite it not being a secret, there's still a lot of MAGA shills and people who don't understand these things, and so I took it upon myself to kind of go over this a little bit. And this is not anything that's exclusive. Everybody knows this, but I'll go over it because it's relevant right now as what I'm talking about. I said, since I have endlessly farmed this war for content, allow me to really explain how bad of an embarrassment this is for the United States. Look, in the beginning of this war, Israel demanded Iran's ballistic missile capability be nullified to the point where missiles couldn't be fired farther than the eye could see. And remember, we spoke about that, I believe, back in February before the war had actually broke out. And one of the demands for Israel, if they weren't going to start a war with Iran, at least presumably start a war with Iran, is that they had to nullify and weaken their ballistic missiles program to the point where it would render itself useless. And so think of how crazy of a demand that is, and think about where we are right now in what we're asking Iran to concede on. It's pretty crazy, and I'm going to tell you in a moment, it's actually laughable. But Israel's asking for complete destruction, or really just a nerfing of their ballistic missiles program, mid-range ballistic missiles program, which is capable of really destroying Tel Aviv, Haifa, and other provinces of Israel, which it has done during the 12-day war. It continues on here. It says, we demanded they halt their nuclear enrichment, downblend, and or eradicate all highly enriched uranium. Now, I'll admit that's still being spoken about as I talk to you right now. We're going to go over what just happened in these Switzerland peace talks. Nuclear is on the table. However, it seems like Iran is not conceding very far, and we'll go over that in greater detail. We promised we would change the regime for a better one. We got a worse one. As you know, obviously, now the leader is the son of the former leader, and he's more extreme than his father, that being Mujtaba Khamenei. And like I've said before, Middle Eastern officials across the entire region have begged and pleaded for this guy to never have power or seize power in the country of Iran. Now he's the leader, and they were fearful of this because of how extreme he is. And that's likely why Iran has been standing 10 toes against the United States in all of these peace talks. I think that he's really not willing to bend, cave, or fold in any capacity, because obviously the threat that Iran faces is existential. And his father was just killed as a result. We promised to take back control of the Strait of Hormuz, failed. We promised we would choke their economy with a naval blockade to the point where they would concede, failed. We are now paying and bribing them to not strike Israel in retaliation for the strikes on Beirut, and play nice with the 60-day buffer MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, of further negotiations for an ultimate long-term peace deal. The same extremist regime still stands strong, proxies still stand strong, missile programs still stand strong, highly enriched uranium still within reach, and now they get $300 billion US. So where did we win? I'm waiting to hear where we won. You know, and that's why Israel is mad, because we're stepping out of the war, leaving Iran arguably stronger and in better economic standing than they were prior to the war. And I say arguably reluctantly. It's not even arguable. We just made them stronger. And right now, they said on Saturday, as a result of Israel's aggression in southern Lebanon, they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. And what happened to the Trump administration? What happened to the president? They all entered panic mode, because the moment the Strait of Hormuz closes, that's extra economic pressure for the United States that we have to deal with. And so how far have we gone to alleviate that pressure as far as lifting oil sanctions on Iran so that we can speed up the stabilization of global oil as a whole? Do you realize how crazy that is? This is the first time in a very long time, I'm not sure exactly how long, but certainly years, that we've given Iran the ability to benefit from their oil without sanctions. This is good for Iran. That could be good for China still. Even though China got the oil for cheap before, I'm sure they're going to work out some sort of discount deal. And so all of the people talking about how this is problematic for China now have to eat their own words, as I've been saying would be the case for months now. You know, but we've done everything. The oil sanctions, the control of the strait is now in Iran's hands. $300 billion being supplied by what I believe to be these Gulf nations. They got everything, you know. So, and I know a little bit of this is old, but I just want to make sure I give you guys the full picture before we get into everything that's developed from the last 2 or 3 days, or really today. And we are also lifting oil sanctions for Iran to speed up the stabilization of the global oil market, which in turn makes them tons of money. I am more than happy that the United States has exited the war, or at least is attempting to, and I mean that. This is a great thing for us because we should have never been involved, of course. But I must admit, I am still concerned Israel will reignite the conflict in some way. Time will tell. Let's hope we can hang on. This was on June 17th, and obviously, again, on Friday, which was, I don't even remember the day. What was Friday? June, let's see, 19th. Yeah, on June 19th, Israel was going back to fighting against Lebanon, and their claim that they were defending themselves against Hezbollah aggression when Hezbollah had agreed to relieve the tensions. And so now there's going to be some peace talks or some negotiations hosted between the Lebanese president, Hezbollah, and Israel as a whole, beginning tomorrow, actually, which is Tuesday. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully it goes in a positive direction. There have been several rounds of peace talks and or temporary ceasefire negotiations between Lebanon and Israel hosted by Washington. All of them failed flat on their face. And that's just simply because Israel does not want to let go of all the progress they've made so far during this conflict. It's that simple. People try to think it's like 5D chess, like, no, China, the strait, it's blocked. It's like, no, bro, Israel just wants what they want, and they're not going to stop because the United States is feeling a little bit of economic pressure. And that's just what it is. Anybody who tries to make it more complex than that, obviously there's so many complexities to this topic, but anybody who tries to say there's some like third missing shadow vague element or this is what you're missing is like, no, bro, that's what it is actually. You know, that is what it is. How much more obvious can it get? So be very wary of who you listen to and all these sources. You know, I was watching Fox the other day because I always watch all of these mainstream news sources just to kind of get the greater understanding of what the American public is about to get and hear. And it's always bullshit, as per usual. No surprise there. But, you know, we'll go through this. Obviously, right after I tweeted that, this was one day ago. This was on either Sunday or Saturday. I don't know which day exactly this had happened, but this is out of Al Jazeera, so we'll take a quick listen.
There has been a cautious calm here in Nebatia on Sunday as a ceasefire appears to be taking hold, but it has followed a very brutal and bloody couple of days for this city and the surrounding towns and villages. Israeli troops have been seeking to take control of the high ground around here for some time now. A couple of weeks ago, they managed to capture the historic Beaufort Castle, which you can see in the distance there, but they didn't stop there. They've been seeking to advance to another ridgeline closer to the city. It's called the Aliyah Ridge. It's the one you can see there now, the dark trees along the.
And the Aliyah Ridge, guys, is supposed to be allegedly a Hezbollah stronghold. Likely it is. Look, likely it is. Probably is. But that's why they're being aggressive in that direction, just to give you the greater picture there.
Ridgeline. Now, Israeli troops have made multiple assaults on that ridge, 6 or 7 at least. They haven't managed to take it yet, and it has proved disastrous for them. In fact, in their most recent attempt, 4 Israeli soldiers were killed and a number of them were injured. Hezbollah says that they managed to ambush those Israeli troops while they were seeking to take the hill. In fact, that they were able to fire rockets on an evacuating force, and that sparked the extremely brutal Israeli response that we have seen on this city and the surroundings over the last couple of days. Hundreds of Israeli airstrikes landed, not just on this city, but the towns and villages in the hills and valleys around here. It was very, very violent. In fact, people in the hospital here in Nebatia said that this resulted in some of the worst days of the war so far for them, as families who had returned to their homes because they thought there was going to be a ceasefire that was supposed to be in place from 4 p.m. on Friday were instead killed by Israeli airstrikes that hit those homes at dawn across Friday and Saturday.
This is all after the memorandum of understanding, by the way. Okay.
The ceasefire on Sunday appears to be holding. Whether or not it extends past those talks in Switzerland is yet to be seen. Heidi Pett, Al Jazeera, Nebatia, Southern Lebanon.
And so, of course, as a result of Israel continuously being aggressive, despite the MOU that Donald Trump and the American base has worked so hard for to pull us out of this absolute mistaken quagmire, they have been vaguely condemning Israel. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. Really, J.D. Vance has been going sick. I'm sure you guys have seen many, if not all, the clips, but J.D. Vance has been, taken to the podium and saying, Israel needs to be a little bit more grateful and, all of this stuff. And so we'll watch this. I thought that this was comical. If you're a stranger over here, you're new here. I'm not a fan of anybody in this administration, but we'll take a listen to J.D. Vance and what he's been saying. He's been going viral for a lot of his statements. I mean, this clip on Twitter right here that I'm going to react to with you guys, you can take a look, has amassed 4.5 million views and about 62,000 likes. So let's go ahead and take a listen. This was as of Thursday.
Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had.
I believe the volume's a little low. Let me just turn that up, crank that up for you guys. My bad.
With him, but maybe he's saying. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower.
Definitely not a good thing to say. And I understand that he's saying this because he's trying to highlight that Israel is really biting off more than they can chew, and they ought to be grateful about who's supporting them, because who's supporting them is far and few between. But in you admitting that, you're also simultaneously inadvertently admitting that no one in the global community wants anything to do with this country. Don't you think that is problematic? Don't you think that's an issue? So I just find it funny. He's like, well, we're the only ones who support Israel out of the entire world. Everybody hates Israel right now except Donald Trump. It's like, not a flex. That is very embarrassing. That is very embarrassing. So we'll continue on here, but I just thought that was comical. It's like, yeah, we're supporting Israel. They better be grateful. It's like, no, we shouldn't be supporting them in this bullshit, actually. And here's the thing, too. I said this before. When the war first started, Israel was going sick on Lebanon. And after April 7th, when we had the official ceasefire, I say in heavy quotations, ceasefire, on April 8th, Israel bombed Lebanon 100 plus times. And so whatever, no surprise there. They're trying to sabotage the peace that was just enacted 24 hours prior. But where was the condemnation from Washington? There was none. There was none. Now there's condemnation from Washington. And you think about it, it's like, now everybody's based, and everybody's seeing this J.D. Vance clip, and everybody's seeing what Donald Trump is saying with respect to Israel, and they're all kind of eating it up. I was looking at Instagram clips, I was scrolling through Reels, I was seeing TikToks, and I'm looking at the comments, and I'm looking at all these people on X, and they're like, oh, J.D. is based. J.D. is finally taking the red pill, and it's like, bro, no, They're just concerned about their political status for upcoming midterm elections in November. Duh. They're playing face. They're fooling you. And they've been doing this for months, actually years. This is what they do. They flip-flop. Nobody in this administration actually has a foundational core belief that holds true to the political stage. It's all bullshit lies, bullshit campaigning promises that vanish in thin air once they actually have political power, because the donors that got them there said, hush that shit up, brush it under the rug, we're going to war in Iran. So, this is all bullshit. And really, if JD Vance, and the clips we're about to see, JD Vance is talking about how they're bombing people and a country of 9 million doesn't need to be this aggressive or something like that, and how they're killing innocent people. And so everybody's going, oh, JD Vance is actually highlighting how brutal Israel has been in their offensive, and they've been actually killing a lot of innocent people. And it's like, don't fall for this for even a second. You're a dumbass. You think he's a humanitarian? He's worried about his political standing, obviously. So I just think this is like it's so obvious, but people are chewing, you think I'm pointing out the obvious here. People are really falling on their face for this. It is unbelievably, it's honestly just ironic, but it's crazy.
If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
And always remember, okay? Had it not been for the inevitable, unbreakable chain attachment we have to this conflict in the Middle East, JD Vance would not be saying any of this. Think about it. When Israel was bombing the shit out of Gaza and killing people every single day for no greater reason other than Hamas is here, Hamas is there, when Hamas was actually nowhere to be found, where all these civilians were being killed, children and babies all alike, there wasn't any of this energy from the American lobby. There wasn't any of this energy from a JD Vance, from a Donald Trump, from a Biden, from anybody. And so now JD Vance has taken this stance against Israel, kind of saying they ought to be grateful. Not a stance against Israel, but just really highlighting that they're being ingrates. And it's so funny. It's like, you're only doing this because now they're destroying you politically. It's painful when you actually have to deal with the repercussions of their actions, right? But when Israel is just bombing a country in the Middle East and the U.S. has nothing to do with it, then it's Israel is defending themselves. But when they're bombing a country in the Middle East and you're losing political influence as a result, then it's, well, they ought to be grateful and they need to stop and they need to listen to us. So you don't care about anybody's lives. You don't care about the actual standing of the Middle East or regional peace. You're not a humanitarian. You don't care about the innocent kids that are being killed. You just care about having power in 2026 and then eventually, if he runs for president, 2028. It's all bullshit because this condemnation is way too late. If this was genuine, we would have heard it years ago, months ago. But it's obvious bullshit. And the only reason that it's coming out of his mouth is because he has no choice but to kind of counterbalance his position in so that he actually has a chance to have credibility down the path, down the road. Because what has happened is a political shift in the United States. Obviously, everybody now is based on Israel. Obviously, everybody now is saying Israel has a nuclear program. Joaquin Castro, I believe his name, a congressman out of Texas, 30 other Democratic congressmen just joined him in this letter, this memo to the Trump administration, forcing them to force Israel to acknowledge their nuclear program, to say, hey, you need to stop putting this under the rug. Israel has nuclear warheads. And so, like, everybody knows where the wind is blowing. Don't try to do this now because they're going to destroy your so hard fought for peace deal, the peace deal that you would have never had to go over with, the peace deal that you would have never had to have these extraordinarily complex negotiations about had you never bombed them in the first place on February 28th. And JD Vance is going to say, I was separate from the decision to bomb Iran. No, he wasn't. This is the same guy who's been at the RNC and several other instances. He has said that Iran is a mass terror state. They fund their terroristic proxies. They need to be destroyed. They need a regime change. The Iranian people are suffering as a result. He fucking drank the Kool-Aid for years on this. Now he's going to say, well, Israel's being too aggressive with Lebanon. It's like, bro, you should have just kept it, honestly. You should have just stood on business and stood where you were. Because the flip-flop now really shows you how disingenuous he is. It's actually comical. It's like, yeah, we care about, we actually want peace in the Middle East. It's like, do you? Because you're about like 30 years late to Israeli aggression. You're really late, actually. You care, or do you care about how it looks for you? But this is a fruitful development in the fact that now there is pressure on U.S. officials to not stand with Israel on every single thing they do. You notice that, obviously? It's no longer like Israel's our greatest ally. We're going to defend them no matter what they do. Now it's, okay, Israel shouldn't have did that. We'll talk to them. You know, a little something. But again, like I said, that's really only just because of the fact that every time Israel bombs Lebanon, this is a unique point where the United States is paying for it way worse than we ever have. Before it was, you're giving them weapons. What the hell? And we go, well, whatever, they're our greatest ally. They have to defend themselves. They're the only Jewish state in the Middle East, whatever. But now it's, if they bomb Lebanon, Iran blocks a strait, the U.S. suffers as a result, global community gets mad at us, Donald Trump's approval rating gets lower, midterms are looking worse and worse. Now it's we're anti-Israel. Oh, it's so convenient now, isn't it? You know, so very obvious analysis there. You know, I'm not, reinventing the wheel with that observation, but so many people were chewing that shit up. So many people were like loving it. I'm looking at all these Instagram clips coming up on my For You page and TikTok or whatever, and people are like, Vance is the next guy. Vance is the runner-up. Vance is going to be the guy to finally put Israel in their place. It's like, brother, you are so off. It's disgusting. You are so off. It's disgusting. Look at the circumstances. He has no choice. Look at the circumstances.
I will say, I don't know, maybe I've missed this. I don't think Bibi himself has actually criticized the deal, because I think he's maybe a little bit more
he has
familiar with the details of what's in it. But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have.
But that's exactly what they do, and you fund them in doing it, and you're not cutting aid anytime soon, nor have you ever threatened to do so, you or the president. So exactly what's the point of even uttering such a statement? It's such a false hope. It's such a false hope. Are our standards so low to the point where we hear bullshit like this and we get happy? We need action. Words are anything. Words are but just words. They are shallow, they are hollow, they are empty. We need actual action. JD Vance is saying this, but then Congress is working on a deal to combine and integrate Israeli military with ours. I'd rather see the action, because all the action I'm seeing is more and more, no matter what, support kind of thing for Israel. So, and everybody knows it's now good cop, bad cop, because they're trying to play safe face for midterms. It's all just so frustrating. It's too late. It's too late. The situation in Gaza is worse than Lebanon. Why don't you talk about that? Because there's no U.S. strings attached that's going to hurt our economy. That's why. You want to talk about Israeli crimes? Gaza standing right there. Big and bright, right in front of you. No easier thing to talk about. Gaza is the situation that turned the entire world against Israel. No doubt about that. Everyone knows that. And so now your condemnation for Israel stems from them sabotaging the peace deal. Obviously, look, it makes sense. You got a right to be upset. But it's like, this isn't about Israel being aggressive. This isn't about Israel actually posing a moral hazard to the United States. This is just about them calming down at the right time for the right period so we can get what we want, get out of there. Then they can do what they want again. And that's not the path forward. That's not the way forward. That is a temporary solution to a long-term problem that will eventually fizzle out and will have to be involved again. It's going to run a vicious cycle over itself. So there has to be a different response to this aggression in Lebanon. There has to be a different response to the situation in Gaza. Because Donald Trump's wasn't enough when he first got into office, and it took Palestinians starving and dying on camera, getting shot at aid sites for Donald Trump to finally vaguely say Israel's being a little bit too aggressive. Palestinian gets exploded in the air. Some 17-year-old Palestinian kid with Adidas flip-flops gets exploded 30 feet into the fucking air, and it happens 40 times over for everybody to see on TikTok and Instagram. Then and only then, Donald Trump goes, well, I think they're being a little bit too aggressive. I think they got to let them get the food. They got to let them get the food. It takes the absolute extremes. The standard in the bar is just way too low. The bar is on the floor, you know? So stop eating this shit up. You know, Donald Trump has a little bit of condemnation for Israel, and it's like, oh, Trump is based. It's like, you're retarded. You're an idiot. So
here working so hard to settle our issues. The one last at it. I know you had a question over here.
Stop genocide in Lebanon. As you know, your alignment, Israel has something like genocide in Lebanon. The main issue is stopping this.
Well, ma'am, I think that the President of the United States and the United States of America have done more to stop the conflict in Lebanon than any government anywhere in the world over the last few months. And we're going to...
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. There was not any sort of explicit condemnation for Israel's attack on April 8th. Are you aware? I'll pull it up for you guys on Wiki, actually, just because I don't think a lot of people actually understand exactly how aggressive that attack was, and it wasn't reported in the MSM the way it should have been. They had an operational name for it. It was labeled Operation Eternal Darkness by the IDF. So when he says we had the most global condemnation, we had the most condemnation for Israel against their aggression in Lebanon, it's like, did you really? Look, there's a Wikipedia on this shit. On April 8th, shortly after the announcement of a ceasefire to the 2026 Iran war, by the way, between the U.S. and Iran, important to understand because this is Israel's attempt at sabotaging that deal, and Hezbollah signaling a pause in attacks against Israel according to the ceasefire, Israel launched what is described as its most powerful attacks on Lebanon, killing at least 357 people. By the way, I think that was inside of a couple hours. And this was literally called Operation Eternal Darkness. Are you kidding me? I could do the debunking all day. Like, when are we going to stop lying, you know? I get it. Politicians lie. Like, I don't want to be too liberal virtue signaling, like, you're wrong. But it's like, yo, that's just so not true. You know, politicians say things that are vaguely not true, and it's like, it's fine. It's politics. This is like, you're all retards. You're all dumbasses. I'm just going to run with this. No one's going to check me for it. Like, bro, this is like, what? Come on.
To keep on working towards it. The President of the United States and the United States of America have done more to stop the conflict in Lebanon than any government anywhere in the world over the last few months, and we're going to keep on working towards it. As I think a lot of you appreciate, peace is never easy. Peace always requires...
And how many of you guys even knew about the April 8th attack like that? Probably not a lot of you.
There's a little bit of work. It always requires a little bit of give and take. But the President of the United States is committed not just to peace between the United States and Iran. The President is committed to a regional peace, which is why we're here working so hard to settle our issues. The one last at it. I know you had a question.
Yeah, sure. Now you're working hard because you finally got Iran to step to the table. Iran steps to the table. Now it's Israel, please chill. Israel, chill. Daddy's here. Israel, chill. Because if you've been paying attention, Donald Trump obviously about 40 times said Iran is talking to us. We're not giving them what they want. Iran was never talking to us. He was lying. And the first time Iran actually shows up in Switzerland, shows up in Geneva, the first time they actually agree to talk to us, now it's Israel, please stop. And they say the U.S. has all the cards. LOL. LOL. So, yeah, that's that. I know I said I'd go over the conditions of today, but we can look at this from real really quick. So this is as of the 21st. This was yesterday. Israel's conditions for accepting the U.S.-Iran demands on the Memorandum of Understanding. This is out of an Israeli source. The withdrawal of all Hezbollah elements north of the Litani River. That's not going to happen. That's insane. The complete look. It's ideal for Israel. They're just not going to agree to that. So you make a crazy, crazy bold demand against a group you know is not going to agree to that demand. It's actually largely why you want to make that good demand. It's because you want to fight them. You know they're not going to agree. So we see what's happening there. The complete dismantling of Hezbollah's infrastructure in the area south of the Litani River, again, it's just not going to happen. That could be that ridge, the Ali Latahi, what was it called? Al Jazeera was talking about it, but that ridge. Granting Israel, this is number 3, granting Israel full freedom of movement and military action to thwart and eliminate any future threats, which includes ground and aerial operations. So essentially, Israel is making impossible demands against the Iranian proxy so that they can continue this war endlessly. You know, that's what that is, in case you were a little bit confused. I'll go ahead and give you a clear and simple translation. Anyways, Donald Trump was speaking today out of the Oval Office. Lots of clips that I gathered. And take a look at this. I mean, again, my directive, along with that of the Minister of the Defense to the IDF, is clear and has not changed. This is Benjamin Netanyahu. He says, our fighters in southern Lebanon have full freedom of action to thwart any direct or emerging threat against them or against the residents of the north. The IDF has no restrictions in this matter. I stand behind them. The entire nation stands behind them. I stand firm on the fact that we will remain in the security zone in southern Lebanon for as long as it is required to protect the residents of the north and all the citizens of the state. Really? While the Geneva, Switzerland talks are happening. Really? Why are you there? So it's constant antagonization. It's constant provoking. They want to stay in this, you know. So, and then this here reads, U.S. intelligence agencies have warned the Trump administration that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is likely to take steps that will undermine President Trump's effort to reach a lasting peace deal with Iran. That's out of the Washington Post. And that was right before their offensive in Nebatia. So, gotta love it. And then this here says Israel is considering a small withdrawal in Lebanon, which would include withdrawing from Belfort Castle, which they have yet to do if my news is serving me correctly. So, yeah, that's that. And then Trump said on Truth Social on the 21st, right after Israel was going hard, or Israel was about to go hard, Iran must immediately stop their highly paid proxies in Lebanon from causing trouble. If they don't, we'll hit Iran very hard again, just like we did last week, only harder. Again, yeah. Stop the proxies from starting trouble in Israel is reasonable. That's a very valid demand. Hey, why is Israel in Lebanon to deal with those proxies in the first place? You do realize the proxies are in Lebanon to defend Lebanon and fight for Iran in their battle for influence across the region. Because I will never not admit that. Obviously, the axis of resistance exists so that Iran can flex their muscles in various places in the Middle East and keep Israel at control, because Israel's main goal is overthrowing the Iranian regime. So it's a response to a formidable foe, that being from Iran, their response to Israel. And so if you know that the proxy exists in southern Lebanon, is well funded, and is not going to step back if Israel is ramping up its control and annexation of southern Lebanon, then why don't you tell Bibi Netanyahu to get the fuck out of southern Lebanon? That would probably help the matter. That would diffuse the problems. Then if rockets fly over North Israel, then you know they're actually provoking the matter. They're actually starting it. But Israel right now, as we know, has created this buffer zone, this security zone, all of these silly terms they use, these convoluted terms they use to confuse you. It's an annexation zone is what it is, because they don't want to give any of that land back. And while they're there, they're removing people who are native to that land, and still several residents from these villages in southern Lebanon are yet to return to their homes despite this MOU being enacted, which a part of the MOU is peace in southern Lebanon. No one can return there because Israel has not let up their offensive. Israel is not letting Lebanese people back in. If they are, it's in smaller numbers, and they ultimately want them gone. They ultimately want them gone. They say it's Hezbollah. They say it's this. It's like, you're there provoking them. You're there fighting them. You're there taking the castle that you hadn't had control of in 26 years, which is iconic for you trying to annex southern Lebanon, which is what you attempted to do before, and Hezbollah fought you as a result. So it's like everything is written for you. If you're the president of the United States, it actually isn't the time to condemn anybody except Israel, because as things become more fragile, as we make more progress with Iran, Israel just happens to get more aggressive. It is a cycle. a vicious one that repeats itself over and over. And it does not take a highly intelligent or very intricate person to notice that consistency. It is a consistency. It's pattern recognition, as simple as it can be. So, you know, that's why Vance kind of ramped up the condemnation, but it's all for nothing. It's all for nothing because at the end of the day, they're still going to let them do what they want while they're in Switzerland fighting for their lives so the strait can open back up, which is not even entirely open back up, but it's partially open. And we can take a look right here at these updates from CNN. Here's the latest in regards to all the peace talks and negotiations. Nuclear monitoring. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said Tehran agreed to admit nuclear monitors into the country after negotiations in Switzerland. Iran denied making any new commitments. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon outweighs the potential economic consequences of prolonged military action. That's a silly thing to say because Iran was never going to go for a nuclear weapon had we never invaded them in the first place. That's why they were hedging a nuclear weapon. They never were actually going to make one. Anyways, Strait of Hormuz, Iran agreed to set up a telephone hotline to prevent and resolve any misunderstandings, which is good. That's actually really good. That's progressive. If that's the case, we won't have to talk through Pakistan and wait for an Iranian response. But wouldn't it be funny, like, if Donald Trump is calling them to open the strait and they just genuinely don't answer the phone? That's kind of funny to think about. But anyways, so they set up a phone to prevent misunderstandings with the U.S. or other countries as ships cross the waterway. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is steadily increasing, with at least 24 commercial ships having transited in the past 24 hours, according to marine traffic data. Israel-Lebanon talks. The U.S. will mediate another round of talks beginning Tuesday to end clashes in southern Lebanon between Iran-backed Hezbollah and Israel, according to a U.S. State Department official. And I'll tell you right now, just in regards to the Israeli-Lebanon talks, again, that's going to be another really big issue because I guarantee you Hezbollah is going to ask for the IDF and Israel as a whole to withdraw from southern Lebanon. It's the simplest thing ever. If the IDF is in southern Lebanon, Hezbollah is going to fight them because they are in southern Lebanon. So the best thing we can do is have Israel withdraw from their not native land, from the land that's not theirs. Like, why are you there? And they make these excuses, the rockets, you've warranted and motivated all of that. That's just what it is. So anyways, let's see. But yeah, and then Donald Trump obviously sat down with Axios. We'll look at a little bit more news here. I want to react to this Fox News video that I saw on Saturday morning. And this is just all the more lesson as to why you really shouldn't listen to MSM in case you guys have been living under a rock. But, you know, people always say, oh, who watches Fox News? Who listens to CNN or Fox News or whatever? Even though liberal media has been actually pretty accurate in their reporting of what's going on right now because it's been unfavorable for Trump, so it's worked out that way. You know, Fox News and all these guys, all their news is BS for the most part when it comes to Middle Eastern affairs, or they're missing key details that help you understand the greater picture and really what's important. And a lot of people kind of just brush it under the rug, which you guys got to understand. This is still what most Americans are getting their news from. You know, this is still what most people are listening to. I understand Tucker Carlson is popular as ever right now. He said that he's going to leave the GOP. He's not going to be a Republican anymore. And everybody's listening to alternative media with the Epstein thing now, and everybody's turned away from MSM. I understand there's been a shift, but still, there is a large majority, I'd say, crowd that watches and consumes mainstream media as their daily updates as to what's happening in the United States and really around the world. And for domestic news, maybe it's not so bad. But for anything abroad, it's horrible. And, you know, I'll allow you to see this better than I can explain it to you. We'll take a listen to this video because I was trying to figure out what was happening Saturday morning. And I listened to this video. I watched this Fox News video and I was literally just laughing. I thought it was comical at all of the copium. So
J.D. Vance is in Switzerland with White House envoy Steve Witkoff and
starting it off, J.D. Vance in Switzerland. Like, they're trying to make Vance the hero of all of this.
Jared Kushner. They're there, of course, for the Iran peace talks.
But President Trump is threatening to impose tolls on the Strait of Hormuz.
Sorry, I got a super chat here. It says, are you familiar with a project Israel is running to get oil ran to them so they don't have to rely on the U.S.? I saw something about that on X, if I'm not crazy, like last week. But no, I don't know too much about it. Anyways, let's keep going. Thank you for the super chat. That's from Vic Bynum 9086. Thank you so much for that. $10.
If a deal with Tehran isn't secured.
Foreign correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. High-level diplomatic talks are set to take place today in Switzerland, aimed at solidifying the Memorandum of Understanding and entering into the next phase of negotiations. Vice President J.D. Vance is joined by Special Envoys Witkoff and Kushner to move these talks forward. On the American side, Iran's Parliament Speaker Mohammad Khalibaf and the country's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will represent the Iranian side. Vice President Vance spoke about the detailed...
Sneeko is talking to an absolute rocket right now on Kick. I know. I'm being unprofessional, but whoa. Sneeko Riz? Wait, I'm sorry. This is so goyish of me. But wait, is bro about to cook? I'm sorry.
Because anybody can see your photos.
You look like my hat.
And anybody can DM you at any time.
Oh my God, bro. This is what I'm talking about with the poverty.
Right.
Right. But you don't really seem like the type that's on social media that much, right?
Like, how come? Like, what exactly?
Based off your
like
values.
Posting, like active, like.
Yeah. You don't seem like the type to be posting a lot.
Holy cap. You know she's on social media.
No, not. I mean, recently I've been posting a little more, but I don't, like, post my whole life on there. You know what I mean?
Probably TikTok.
I mean, I have a couple videos, but it's not like...
Yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. I got a couple videos. Okay. You're definitely always uploading on TikTok.
I mean, yeah, like, it's all temporary, I feel like.
It's literally meaningless. So many people don't get that.
I'm sorry. All right, we'll get back to the news.
They don't seem to understand just like how much of a waste it is. I think it's because of the celebrity worship too.
Could be that too, yeah.
And Love Island.
Oh, Love Island. Do you watch it?
So you said you watch shows.
This isn't even illegal. He's on Discord. Anyways, all right. We'll get back to the news. I'm sorry. Anyways, so this is why Fox News is BS. Sometimes you gotta have a little fun, all right? You guys are spamming in the chat, goy slop or whatever. Sometimes you gotta have a little fun, okay? No one's actually spamming that. Someone said L content. Nah, I know it's brain rot. But you need a little break from all the Iran, right? So, and we'll move off of Iran in a moment here. But a couple videos I want to show you guys.
Talks before departing.
Well, I think number one, just getting
Here, let me turn off these captions.
set up in the right way and getting the actual structure of the negotiation in place. So the way that we're going to do this is that we're going to have a principal level political leadership at the top, and then obviously expect these things to stand the ground. I think we're going to hopefully make progress on the nuclear issue, make progress on the Lebanon ceasefire issue. Those are the two big things that I think we're going to be focused on.
The issue of Lebanon remains a major sticking point. 5 Israeli soldiers were killed by Hezbollah in the course of 48 hours over the weekend. The Israelis responded with heavy airstrikes across southern Lebanon. Now, in response, the Iranians claim they are closing the Strait of Hormuz, something U.S. officials push back against, saying that U.S. forces remain in control. President Trump posted a Truth Social about the strait on Saturday, saying there will be no tolls in the Hormuz Strait for 60 days.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
During the ceasefire period, and there will be no tolls after the 60-day period has expired unless they are imposed by and for the United States of America. And Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said this about Israel and the link to Lebanon in the broader agreement.
The other side was obliged to compel those under its influence, specifically the Zionist regime, to cease fire in Lebanon. In this regard, we have seen that they have failed to fulfill their obligations, and this constitutes a clear violation of the ceasefire understanding.
Iran continues to try to tie the Memorandum of Understanding to the issue of Lebanon. As Hezbollah kills Israeli soldiers, it is creating a challenging situation for mediators who are looking to keep...
Look at the language. As Hezbollah kills Israeli soldiers. Where are those Israeli soldiers? Oh, right outside of Hezbollah's strongholds and all of their provinces and all of the places that they stay at in southern Lebanon, provoking them to fight so they can sabotage the peace deal. Like, you got to be very careful of listening to this stuff.
This memorandum.
Like, yeah, Hezbollah's killing them. Yeah, not good, but it's like also, why is Israel there? Why is the IDF there? Why do they have control of a castle they haven't had control of since 2000?
Of understanding on course. Guys?
Trey, thanks. Great reporting. A quick question. In your sense of this, so we had Vice President J.D. Vance on yesterday, and he has been sort of defending this.
And by the way, I said this on X just quickly. They threw Vance on like this press run to explain all of this shit. Do you know how complex and like convoluted and difficult to understand all of this is for the average American? And for a lot of Americans, yeah, they think like, oh, we have the upper hand militarily, all this good stuff. But for a lot of Americans, they think that this war is largely unnecessary. There is a good, respectable amount of people from the GOP base even that think that this war is highly unnecessary. Not the hottest take in the world. And so, you know, they got Vance in this press run trying to explain it, and he just looks like a dumbass. Has anybody seen like all of these videos of Vance like trying to explain what's going on and trying to make up for Donald Trump's quagmire and mistakes? I said that on X. I said sending JD Vance on a press run to try to explain a strategic American loss is so foul. They hate this nigga. And it's true, you know, because I couldn't imagine walking around trying to defend Donald Trump right now. It would prove very difficult. Talk about destroying his chances in 2028. Like, bro, that's so foul. Send that nigga Rubio to Fox News to explain this. And honestly, he does a little bit of a better job. I don't mean to glaze him, but, you know, Vance has really been fumbling over his own words trying to explain all of this.
New 60-day period saying that Iran has a chance for the first time in 47 years after being hell-bent on terrorism to be a normal country. Are you getting a sense that something may be different in these talks now?
Yes, the United States is giving Iran an opportunity to enter into serious discussions about their nuclear program and see.
The United States is giving Iran an opportunity. No, Iran is giving us an opportunity by finally showing up somewhere to actually talk to us about a legitimate deal and signing this MOU so they can open up the strait so that we can experience some economic relief. That's what it is. We don't hold any cards. This language is like we hold cards. It's like, no, we're not giving them the chance. They're giving us the chance because war has stopped for over a month. So if war has stopped for actually now over 2 months, I'm sorry, war stopped on April 7th. Allegedly, war stopped. And so like, why have the peace deals been obstructed and pushed back and argued upon up until now where we're actually talking to them? It's because Iran said, we're not going to talk to you until you make the deal right. And finally, the U.S. made the deal right by giving them $300 billion, lifting oil sanctions, bribing them to not strike Israel in retaliation of striking Nebatia and Beirut, and allowing them to control the strait, just not toll it for 60 days as we talk to them, and not making nuclear a front-facing actual issue that we speak about before the negotiations begin. So no, they actually allowed us to enter negotiations by us conceding on everything we swore we wouldn't concede on prior. And it's news like this that just right over the heads of many people.
If they're actually serious in making those concessions that the United States wants at the negotiations.
They're serious and we're serious, but the thing is, we need the deal so much more than they do. Think about it. If this persists, Iran just hangs out. They make money on the strait. They deal with some petty attacks from the U.S. every here and there on their coastline, but ultimately they're good. Yeah, is the economy going to suffer a little bit? Of course, due to our naval blockade and the war and everything else, of course it is, but it's not going to suffer more than it really ever has suffered. I mean, Iran is no stranger to economic sanctions. Iran is no stranger to dealing with lots of pressure as a government from the people of Iran due to the fact that they are barred from the world, they are blacklisted from the world. And so, like, not only are they used to those kinds of circumstances, they also face an existential threat. They're facing eradication from the American/Israeli coalition. So for them, they're in it for as long as they need to be until they get a guarantee they won't be attacked again. For us, it makes no sense. They're all the way across the world. It's costing us billions upon billions of dollars. That's not going to be approved as time goes on. It's hurting our approval ratings in midterms. It's making the president unpopular. It's making Israel stronger. Israel undermines us. They backstab us, so we don't need them to be any stronger. They're going to take control of a pivotal region, being the Middle East. That's closer to our adversaries. We want influence there, not them. I mean, like, really, who holds the cards? Iran is hanging out. They got their feet kicked up. They're chilling. They're hanging out. So it's far more in U.S. interest to make this deal happen sooner than it is for Iran. I'm sure Iran would like to make a deal with the U.S., but they're not hell-bent or bending over backwards for it like we are. That's for certain. And that's been displayed by the last 70 days of this like so quote on ceasefire. So it's just like silly language they use here.
Negotiating table. Remember, this is a ceasefire extension. It is not the final deal with the Iranian regime. And both President Trump and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, have indicated the U.S. military remains on alert and could use force if needed if the Iranians step back from this agreement. And so these talks today in Switzerland are going to be critical to see if they can move things forward, but also to see if they can address this issue of Lebanon that the Iranians continue to tie to the Memorandum of Understanding. Top officials from the IRGC and also political leadership in Tehran have said that any Israeli strikes against southern Lebanon would constitute a violation of the Memorandum of Understanding, but they haven't noted that Israeli soldiers are still being killed. And Hezbollah continues to launch rockets and drones, not just at Israeli forces in southern Lebanon, but sometimes over the border into northern Israel. And the Israelis say they will respond against those types of attacks. And so they need to have some clarity here in terms of what this means and what would actually constitute a violation of the agreement. And again, if the Iranians are serious about moving things forward at the negotiating table.
We're going to
so
react
Trey,
to that
we know
that
this very fragile period of time that we're in right now, as you've laid out, depends on a large degree on what happens in Lebanon, if we can get that the back and forth to end there. But the Gulf states are also a big factor here. Where did and we know Israel doesn't like.
One sec, guys. Let me just move this around. Told you, new setup, new setup. We're trying to figure things out here. There we go.
This agreement, but where are the Gulf states? Do they like this agreement? Do they also see, as J.D. Vance laid out, an opportunity for a new kind of peace in the Middle East, that this could be the beginning of perhaps something bigger?
Yeah, the Gulf states are actually very happy with this agreement because, remember, they were coming under direct assault by the Iranian regime, and they are on the front lines of this conflict. And so across the board, the Gulf countries have been supportive of the efforts by President Trump and American mediators to reach this memorandum of understanding because, again, it extends the ceasefire and ensures that they're not going to come under attack over the next 2 months. More broadly here, the president wants to see this momentum from the agreement with the Iranians lead to countries in the Gulf joining the Abraham Accords. He sees a larger vision for peace across the Middle East and believes.
Yeah, but I think that's the funniest thing ever. It's like, oh, this can be the first step in the Abraham Accords. Bro, this would be the last step in the Abraham Accords. Normalize relations with the country that just dragged the U.S. into destabilizing the region and making all of our lives harder, that being the GCC. Yeah, I don't know if this is actually a motivation to sign the Abraham Accords. I don't know how that works, actually. Yeah, let's normalize relations with Israel when they got a national security official being Ben-Gvir saying all of Lebanon will burn. Let's normalize relations with them. And it's like, I don't know if that's really likely. I don't know if now is the time. I actually think like before October 7th, you can make the argument. Now it's like less likely than ever. So J.D. Vance and Trump have been saying that, oh, this is going to be the first step to regional peace. It's like, you just bombed Iran. You just really think about what I'm saying here. You just bombed Iran. 4 or 5 months later, we're going to have the Abraham Accords. Are we invoking chaos so we can achieve peace? Are we trying to make people appreciate peace by giving them chaos? This is the 5D chess that we all think of. It's like no one's going to sign that deal with this crazy, rambunctious, chaotic country that keeps attacking everybody around them for no good reason other than just to take their land, which is one Ben-Gvir actually openly admits. Benjamin Netanyahu is a little bit more covert about it. So
is that the momentum here at the negotiating table could lead to more countries normalizing ties with Israel. And this has been the sell to Israeli politicians. Look, this could be an opportunity for...
Not until there's a Palestinian state. Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, all of the Qatari officials, they all say there needs to be a development of a Palestinian state. Yeah, we know the UAE is cucked. We know the Emirates all sold out to the Zionist entity. No secret there. Okay? The UAE is destroying Sudan. The UAE is destroying North Africa. The UAE is trying to fight against Iran with the United States and Israel. The UAE does everything for Israel. Big Daddy. Okay? We know the Zionist entity being the United Arab Emirates. We know they'll do whatever they're told to do. But the other Arab countries, I'm not saying they're not cucked. Look, the Sunni countries are kind of cucked, but at least they're demanding some sort of Palestinian sovereignty. And the reason for that, not only because of the fact that they're Arabs and they want to see their brothers thrive, I guess one can make the argument for, it's really because without the development of a Palestinian state, There will always be chaos in the region. The issue of Palestine is what started everything in the Middle East. We know that, right? The Middle East was never this crazy war-torn region until there was a fight for Palestinian sovereignty, for the third holiest site in Islam being Masjid al-Aqsa being under Muslim rule, which it was by the Ottomans and the Palestinians up until 48. So, borders change overnight. You're not going to just walk away from that and not deal with backlash. That was the motivation for Osama bin Laden and his attacks. It was over a Palestinian state. A large portion or a large motivation for all of the Islamic extremism that has come out of these rigid Salafi Orthodox countries and all of these Al-Qaeda-esque, ISIS-esque, maybe other factions, I can't think of any others right now, that have, rained terror upon the world. It does have a foundational beginning of the Palestinian question. That is what that is. So do the research on that stuff, read into that stuff. When you violate a people's right to self-determination, you will get terrorism. That's like something that people study intimately. There's numbers on that. Go fact check me. So, and I've had a video about this, but it's just so simple, yet people brush right over it. But that's we talk about Abraham Accords. It's like, bro, we have to talk about Gaza. We have to talk about the West Bank. And that's why I always rip on Donald Trump and JD Vance when they say, don't worry, Israel's not going to annex the West Bank. And then they're ravaging villages, desecrating holy sites. Exactly what do you think is going to happen? If Israel takes control of the West Bank, you can kiss the Abraham Accords goodbye. They're far less likely than they ever would be. For the Abraham Accords to have any likelihood of actually being realistic for a large portion of the Middle East and the GCC as a whole, Palestinians have to be given a lot more rights than they have now. They've got to end the brutal military occupation. They've got to convert Gaza from this open air prison into something that's actually habitable for the people of Gaza. They got to give them access to the water. They got to let them fish. They got to let them get supplies. They got to give them better education. And then maybe they'll stop teaching the kids all of these terroristic ideas that makes you bomb them. That's what you claim, right? Oh, but they teach the kids to hate us. It's like, but why are they teaching the kids to hate you? Because you have them living in this prison. It is an open air prison. It is the most secure place in the world. So, it all does stem from Palestine. It all does stem from that. So you want to talk about Abraham Accords? You got to listen to the Middle Eastern leaders. You got to give Palestinians something.
A broader peace. Now, the issue of Lebanon also remains a sticking point, but it also remains an opportunity. And I've been talking with regional officials who say that if this agreement can hold, there is this parallel diplomatic process that President Trump initiated, and it's led by Secretary of State Rubio, to normalize ties between the Israeli and Lebanese governments, aimed at ultimately reaching an understanding that would disarm Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and in the southern Dakhla neighborhood of Beirut. They'd be working toward a common goal. And that is part of the reason that the Lebanese president, Joseph Aoun, is expected to head to Washington to meet with top negotiators and also.
And he's done that already, and it didn't go anywhere.
So with American and possibly.
Because the president of Lebanon is not representative of Hezbollah, and he also can't try to test or overthrow them because Hezbollah is more strong. They're stronger than the Lebanese military. So he's really like a non-contributing factor.
Even Israeli officials.
Because he doesn't speak for Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is the whole issue.
Move this forward because they have a shared interest to get rid of Hezbollah, Iran's largest proxy in the region.
Not going to happen.
The main proxy that is trying to destabilize the current agreement. And so there are a lot of moving parts here, and there is optimism in the Trump administration that this memorandum of understanding could lead to a broader agreement with Iran and usher in a new period in the Middle East.
So here's the vice president yesterday telling us about the position of the United States going into these negotiations. Listen to this.
The United States has all the cards. The Straits are...
Yo, bro. Somebody put an end to his misery. Give it up. The United States has all the cards. You just gave them $300 billion. You just lifted oil sanctions on them. You just told them we'll talk about the nuclear later. Just please open up the Strait. I've said that before. What did we start this war saying? No missiles, no nukes, no missiles, no nukes, no IRGC. It's all gone. We're taking it. We're going to destroy Iran. A few months later, would you please open up the strait? Would you please, would you let the oil flow? It's kind of hurting me now. United States has all the cards. If only, man. If only. Yeah. Somebody invite JD Vance to Earth. I think he needs an invitation to Earth. I don't think he's here. Is JD in the room with us? I don't think he's in the room with us. Invite him to Earth.
Are now open. The Iranian military is now destroyed.
No, it's not. I've done this a million times. It's like, because they're running with the same script, so I'm going to come with the same receipts. Again, no, it's not. U.S. intelligence shows Iran retains substantial missile capabilities. By the way, this was in the middle of the ceasefire. They haven't had to use them yet. This is as of May 12th. Iran still fields about 70% of its mobile launchers across the country and has retained roughly 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile. According to the assessments, that stockpile encompasses both ballistic missiles, which can target other nations in the region, and a smaller supply of cruise missiles, which can be used against shorter range targets on land or at sea. Military intelligence agencies have also reported, based on information from multiple collection streams, including satellite imagery and other surveillance technologies, that Iran has regained access to roughly 90% of its underground missile storage. By the way, this is as of May, so what do you think it is now? Probably like 100 million%. And, I mean, come on. And that was verified by several mainstream media news outlets, and Iran says themselves, we still have pretty much the same amount of military capability that we had prior to the war. And so when they say we destroyed the Navy, we destroyed the Air Force. The Air Force and the Navy were never the threat. It was the missiles program, which is what made Israel nervous last summer, which is why they had to reignite the conflict before they built up and stockpiled more missiles. Because Iran's ballistic missiles program is actually pretty good, and it's hard to defend. And U.S. interceptors have been pretty much void of defending airspace in the Middle East, in the Gulf, and in Israel. Because when Iran wants a missile to penetrate, it will. And they have hypersonics, and they can reach Israel as fast as 7 minutes. So, it's like, we destroyed the military. Yeah, you destroyed an insignificant part of the military. What, you destroyed a plane from 1970? Good job, buddy. Good job there. So
the Iranians have committed to, of course, destroying that stockpile of enriched material, but we have a lot of economic
no, they haven't.
Pressure applied to the Iranians.
What is he talking about?
That we would be willing to relieve if they do what we need them to do.
But you already relieved all the economic pressure before you had them do what they needed to do. There hasn't been an official concession on nuclear yet. Yeah, they're agreeing to monitoring their nuclear program. Maybe they're going to agree to some sort of monitoring program, but that's not them giving up their highly enriched uranium. That's not them downblending. That's not them getting rid of the centrifuges. That's not them relocating the highly enriched uranium. So effectively, what have you done? Sent a couple niggas in white coats to look at it? What is that doing? Because last time I checked, Obama did that, and you were tarnishing his deal. So why are you bragging about it now? You conceded first. You gave him money not to start the war back up in response to Israel's aggression. You gave him $300 billion. You told them they can watch over the strait. They still might be tolling ships, God knows, because there's only been about 24 ships in the last 24 hours or something like that have crossed. Who knows if they're still tolling them? And outside of all of that, you lifted oil sanctions on Iran, and now they're about to make tons of money because they got a lot of oil. And they're going to supply it to their best friends in China and all these other countries within Asia, Indochina, Europe. The Gulf is going to be able to stabilize again. That's a good thing. Kuwait is going to be able to export their oil. They've been struggling due to the congestion and the blockade. But it's like, bro, you literally gave Iran everything and said, please don't hit Israel again so we can have a deal. And now you're saying we hold the cards. Now you're saying we will give them economic relief if they agree to X, Y, and Z. No, before they've agreed to X, Y, and Z, you gave them all the economic relief already. You promised it to them. I know a lot of it is contingent upon the 60-day buffer, the MOU, but the $300 billion, according to several outlets now, has already been supplied to Iran shortly. So, or let me rephrase, I apologize. Some of it has already been given to Iran. Not all of it, but from what I'm understanding, some of it has already been given to Iran. And you've already lifted oil sanctions effective now. No, we're waiting to give them relief after the deal. No, the deal is ongoing and it's fragile. And as all that is happening, they're getting money. So, and what have we gotten? I don't know. I don't know what has the U.S. gotten? Enlighten me. And the silly MAGA shills are going to say a weaker China. China's good, bro. China's been good. Matter of fact, you know what? We'll actually debunk the China myth right now. Gotta love the whole 5D, 30D chess. No, we actually blocked the strait. We wanted Iran to block the strait so we could hurt China. It's like, somebody get this guy some medicine. Take a look at this right here. While the world scrambles for oil, China sits on full tanks. So this hurt China exactly? The possible reopening of the Strait of Hormuz may not prompt China to return quickly to pre-war levels of oil purchases from the Persian Gulf. And, you know, we can read through this. While the United States and Iran haggle over reopening the Strait of Hormuz and restoring oil exports from the Persian Gulf, China, the world's largest oil importer, is not expected to quickly ramp up purchases from the region. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Wait, what? China's not scrambling for oil after the strait got opened? I thought they were suffering. Like, bro. Come on, man. They run on coal, nigga. Okay? And whatever oil they're missing from the Gulf, because I know it was about 50% they've received from the Gulf, they've replaced that.
If they don't do that, of course, there's no skin off our back. They're still in a much weakened position.
Is it?
No, all the skin is off of our back, actually. It's bone showing.
Correct to say that the U.S. holds all the cards right now?
Yeah, because the U.S. military is still located close to Iranian shores. And if the Iranians...
And by the way, as a part of the MOU, they need to get the fuck out of there.
Want to play games in the Strait of Hormuz, they may pay a serious price for doing so.
What serious price? They've been playing games in the Strait of Hormuz for like 100 days, bro. What are you talking about? Iran has been having a field day in the Strait. I didn't see any aggressive U.S. response that made them back down. I saw aggressive U.S. responses, not anything that was great enough to make them back down. And look, I don't want to lose you in all of this. I know I'm doing a lot of IRGC glazing right there, so forgive me. But like, I'm just giving you the truth. The United States does possess military capability to completely flatten Iran in 24, maybe even 12 hours. No doubt about it. But we're not exercising that possibility because the Gulf will be destroyed as a result. So, you know, we've been very reluctant to actually go against Iran militarily as hard as we did in the beginning of the war because Iran showed us how painful it would be if we continued in that direction. So Iran is pretty much saying, you can take us down, but your allies are going down with us and all of your infrastructure in these cities, in these states, in the GCC. So, you know, we haven't been able to flex our military power. It's almost silly and it's so intellectually lazy to harp on and brag and boast about the fact that the United States has this powerful military if it has rendered useless and void and null in the light that Iran will just hit the Gulf back, so we can't even use our greatest weapon. They've used our greatest weapon against us, not allowing us to deploy our military in its full capability and flattening the country because Saudi Arabia might be cooked, Qatar is cooked, Kuwait is cooked, Bahrain is cooked, Oman could be cooked. I know they control the strait with Iran and they've done diplomacy, but we've all seen the history. When Iran's back is against the wall, everybody's getting bombed. Everybody. They might even hit Cyprus. You know what I mean? Like, Iran is that crazy. So they've forced us to come to the negotiating table. And then they say, oh, but, you know, we still have the strongest military. We can't use it. What do you not get about that? We cannot use it. If we use it, Iran will take all of the desalination plants out of the Middle East in the matter of seconds. They probably have an automated button ready to do it, waiting for a U.S. military aggression response. So they block the strait. The U.S. starts hitting them harder than ever before, and they hit this big button that just has an automated system that hits every single desalination plant, every single gas plant, all of these oil facilities in the Middle East. And as a result, all of the Arab leaders are running with their heads cut off. That's why they're all desperate for peace. They don't want to be on the receiving end, of all of these Iranian strikes anymore. So they're begging Donald Trump to actually do diplomacy. Any of the "we support the United States against Iran" that existed in the beginning of the war, all of that rhetoric fizzled out real quickly when Iran hit a desalination plant in Kuwait. So all of these plants, that is quintessential. It is everything they need. It is the driving factor of drinking water, of food. They don't have agriculture. They don't grow crops, nigga. It's the desert. They need these things. And if Iran hits them, it's over. These countries will suffer. You know, we're talking blackout even. Maybe Iran will aim for the infrastructure. Let me ask you something. If the U.S. goes hard against Iran, and we use all of our military might, all the B-2s, everything you can imagine, and Iran launches a hypersonic missile somewhere around Riyadh and hits a power grid or hits energy infrastructure, what does that look like for the Middle East? Riyadh and Saudi Arabia. You know, like, what if they aim a hypersonic at very critical infrastructure in the Gulf countries that's responsible for energy and converting ocean water to fresh drinking water, which is very essential? What happens, you know? So there's a reason why we haven't done what we've been bragging and boasting to do, what we've been threatening to do. We cannot. We can't. So every time they say big bad military, it is useless in Iran. It's useless. We can't use it. We can't use it. They've taken our greatest weapon and turned the barrel right at our own faces. So
there's an important thing to note here, and that's Iran's IRGC once again says they are closing the Strait of Hormuz. They are trying to use this
this was Saturday, guys.
International waterway as leverage, and they're talking about tolling the strait. And the president was very clear on True Social. He is not going to allow tolls in the Strait of Hormuz unless that money is going to the United States of America. And so it's important to look at the facts on the ground and the international shipping data, because if vessels are still moving through the strait, the Iranians can say whatever they want. But the important part here is that this international waterway is open. Around 20% of the world's oil energy actually passes through this strait. And it's not just Iranian ports that are trying to export crude oil, it's these Gulf countries. And they rely on the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz to the Gulf of Oman to get this oil out. And we know that the United States actually, the Iranians had no control because they were ushering vessels, millions of barrels worth of crude oil each and every night, 122 ships on average out of the Strait of Hormuz. And so if the Iranians try to close the strait again, we're likely looking at a scenario where the U.S. Navy will get directly involved and ensure that they cannot disrupt international shipping.
Great reporting. All right. Thank you, Trey Yingst.
Thanks, Trey.
Thank you, Trey.
Be sure to like and...
So he probably said more bullshit, but I've just been yapping, so I got to let the video finish. But anyways, you know, that's MSM for you. That's Fox News. Got to love it. We love Fox News. We love Fox. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But as of the updates right now, I'll go ahead and refresh this live page to see what's going on. Yeah, so nuclear monitoring. Obviously, we're going to start initiating some sort of nuclear monitoring program against Iran. And they denied making any new commitments past that, it seems. Donald Trump says they are preventing them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Again, that's always kind of been the goal. We had that in the bag without starting the war. And Strait of Hormuz is partially opening up as time progresses. So we're having good talks. We're kind of getting somewhere. Seem to be halting at the nuclear. That's always the issue. And I've promised you guys that's always going to continue to be the issue. And then we also have the Israeli-Lebanon talks taking place for God knows how many rounds now. But this is going to be hopefully one of the final rounds. And that's going to take place tomorrow, according to a U.S. State Department official. So we'll see. We'll see, but it's going to be a military and political discussion, no doubt about it. It's going to have to involve Hezbollah. It's going to have to involve all the moving pieces. As we know, this is a multifaceted, very complicated issue. So let's see right here. Tucker Carlson was saying that he's going to leave the GOP. Okay. So let me see if I have this queued. I had it somewhere. And I know Trump was speaking at the Oval Office, so we'll go ahead and react to some of these Trump clips too. We're farming it all, okay? We missed a lot of news, so we're going to get into all that good stuff. And then I also wanted to go over Mohammed Hijab and Sneeko. They had a good collab earlier this week, or I think yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't remember, you know, because of my poverty internet in this new place. But they were talking about Shias and, you know, like the sectarian issues in Islam and uniting the Ummah and stuff. So I kind of wanted to weigh in and give my 2 cents on all of it because I thought it was a really good conversation, you know, but it's a little bit more, you know, Islamically intuitive. It's very like religiously involved. So I'll save it for the end of the stream just in case that's boring for some of you guys. But let's see what Trump was saying today. We got Suleiman clipping it all up. Shout out to him because we can watch the whole 20-minute video, but it's like, you know, I got TikTok brain. Can't do that. So Let's see.
The Hormuz Strait, we took in more. The Hormuz Strait, we took in more oil yesterday than has ever gone through the strait. You probably see that we have an oil gusher. The strait is totally open. You know that, and we're negotiating. We'll see how that all goes. But we have two things: we have an open strait, and we have a country that will never have a nuclear weapon. Will never, ever have a nuclear weapon.
They weren't promising on making a nuclear weapon unless you attack them. So, yeah, I mean, not the biggest bragging right there, but yeah, Trump is super happy. And look, they say Trump is not worried about the strait. Trump says himself, I don't care about the strait. Okay, but then you're like over here bragging to everybody, we got an oil gusher. The most oil ever passed through, which is like probably not true. Actually, it's definitely not true. What am I saying? You know, it's like I'm telling you, he's jumping up and down at the fact that the strait is open. So, and then Mark Levin's chimping out. What did he say? So he says, Iran, let me go ahead and open this up a little bit more for you. Iran can now sell oil. China buys more of Iran's oil than any country, upwards of 90%. They will be thrilled. What are the safeguards to prevent the Iranian regime from using the money to rebuild its war machine? I see none. Does that concern anybody? And please don't blame Israel. We're doing this with our Qatari and Pakistani friends. So Mark Levin's chimping out as per usual. No surprise there. And then we got a couple more clips from Trump today. So let's see what he said. So he says here, we're doing very well with respect to the Hormuz Strait. Again, bragging about the strait. I think this is the same clip.
Very well with respect to the Hormuz Strait. We took in more oil yesterday than has ever gone through.
So again, more bragging. That was just a different angle, same clip.
When it came up last night is money that's being unfrozen is going to be used to buy food, and the food's going to be bought exclusively through the United States from our farmers. Also, when it came up.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that. You just gave him $300 billion for food? For food? Like, come on. We gotta be a little bit more honest here. I'm giving JD more shit than Trump because it's like, what else are we expecting from Trump? But this question seemed to really make headlines. So he's asked about Lebanon here, and obviously that's so much more important than everything else because that's everything that's holding the peace deal together if things stay quiet in Lebanon.
Hey, here's another beauty. What's this one?
Well,
here's a real beauty.
earlier
Go
today,
ahead.
the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his forces are not leaving Lebanon. That is a sticking point.
Who did he tell that to you?
He said it publicly in Israel.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Well, what would you do to make sure that he doesn't?
Well, I'm not going to
sabotage
tell
the
you
deal?
what I'm going to do, but it gets solved. I'm a problem solver. I get problem solved real fast, including with Bibi. Go ahead.
No, you don't. You just yell at him on the phone and then he bombs Lebanon again and you look stupid. So that's probably what's going to happen at some point this week. Again. Because Bibi and Ben-Gvir got to keep the topic in Lebanon hot. They got to keep the violence hot so that Iran cannot come to the table and fully concede on everything the United States wants. They're going to continue to hurt us. That's what they've been doing. That's what they'll continue to do because it's worked. So, yeah. And then this is what Tucker Carlson said. He said, as a result of all of this bullshit, Tucker Carlson is chimping out as well. Let's see what he said.
I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do. But at this point, you know, how could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States, that puts the interests of a foreign country above those of its own citizens? Like, that's you know, it's not possible to vote for people like that, and I'm not going to. And I think I voted Republican my entire life. I worked at Fox News, CNN, right. MSNBC. I've been a consistent defender for 35 years of the Republican Party. I mean, very consistent defender. But there's no defending this because it's immoral, and it's exactly the opposite of what a political party in a democracy is charged with doing, which is representing its own voters, its own citizens, its own nation, and they're not doing that. So, no, I'm out. And if I'm out, then I think a lot of other people are out. I would not support the Republican.
Yeah, and say what you want. Tucker Carlson is very popular, and he will lead the charge on this. So you got him saying that. You got Nick saying vote blue in November. Yeah, the GOP is looking real weak right now. So Not good updates for the Republican Party. But I mean, they did it to themselves, you know. It's not that people are just going against them for no reason. They did it to themselves because of the fact that this war, and look, we've been involved in several conflicts before, but it has never garnered so much frustration like it has now. And this is what we say when we tell you guys, my brother and I, October 7th changed everything because it shined a spotlight on how badly the United States is being choked by Israel, financially, militarily, diplomatically, politically. I mean, everything you can think of. And now people are uncovering all of the skeletons in the closet. The fact that they blackmailed us in 73 with nuclear weapons against the entire Middle East if we didn't help them. The fact that they have an unacknowledged nuclear program in 69 that they agreed with upon Nixon. The fact that they have some vague involvement in several conspiracies that I have to be careful about mentioning on the platform that we're all using right now. But ultimately, a lot of people have become privy to this. And then the whole Epstein scandal. Epstein having all of these connections to Ehud Barak and all of these Israeli connections, and the fact that Epstein was always in Israel and all of these problems as well. I mean, he was a foreign asset. There's no secret there. You know, so all of these things exist, and then we go to war in Iran for no greater reason other than the fact that Israel is begging us to do it, and they've been begging us to do it for years, and now we're facing financial implications as a result. Now it's the fact that inflation is way higher than it ever was, and it continues to rise. The fact that global oil has sat around 90 and it's not going to go back down. The fact that economists are now saying we're still going to have some back-end delayed repercussions of this war for years to come. The fact that countries that are suffering from this war as a result are reaching into strategic reserves like never before, including us, by the way. Some countries may run out of energy resources very soon, as soon as the fall. I mean, you think about all of this, it is actually quite obvious why the Republican Party is dying. Fox News is losing a lot of popularity as well. Trump's approval rating is in the toilet. J.D. Vance is looking like an idiot every other day trying to explain this war. And he's contradicting himself all the time. Look at this. That just popped up on my timeline. No better timing than this.
I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not going to be some long, drawn-out thing.
Oh, yeah, the president that knows how to accomplish national security objectives is raving about the Strait being open when he's the one who got it closed in the first place and destroyed the global economy as a result. It's gushing with oil. It's gushing. Don't worry, the most in one day. I've never seen so much oil. The oil, it was unbelievable. Millions and millions of barrels. Like, oh, okay. Okay, JD.
We've got in, we've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program.
You have not set it back. How did you set it back? What enriched uranium did you get a hold of? What, the situation where the jet got shot down, where you guys tried to do it there? You failed.
Over the coming years, and that is what the president has set out to do. Simple principle. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That has animated American policy over the past 130 days.
But Israel can, right?
It's going to...
Israel, that is a far more aggressive country, by the way, can. I mean, really? So...
continue to be a driving force of our policy in the Middle East for the next 3.5 years.
What a fool. What a fool. And then people wonder why Republicans are getting smoked. You know, got a couple dumbasses in office. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, the Republican Party is dying, unfortunately. And people ask, what do you think is going to happen in midterms? I mean, we'll see, but I don't think we're going to have much legislative. I don't think the Trump administration, the Trump administration is going to have much legislative power anymore. But yeah, it is what it is. So, all right, let's see. What else do we have queued up here? I'll pull up the Mohammed Hijab Sneeko clip. You know, because if you're unaware, if you're a Christian, there is a lot of tension between, Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims. Oh, wait, we can react to this Ben Gvir clip really quick. Let's take a look at this. So, direct translation of what he's saying. Lebanon, all of Lebanon should become our playground. All of Lebanon should be our target. and they tell me, wait a second, there's a Lebanon and there's Hezbollah, I do not accept this artificial approach.
לבנון, כל לבנון צריכה להפוך להיות מגרש המשחקים שלנו, כל לבנון צריכה להיות מטרה שלנו, ואני אומרים לי, רגע שנייה, אבל יש לבנון ויש חיזבאללה, אני לא מקבל
All of Lebanon should be ours.
את הגישה המלאכותית הזאת. לבנון היא מדינה, יש שם בממשלה של לבנון חברי חיזבאללה, שרים מטעם החיזבאללה, יש לה מדיניות של דלת מסתובבת.
And he said other crazy things too. We've reacted to all of the crazy shit that he says. And this is the rhetoric that is supported in Israel. I will admit, though, a lot of Israelis don't support the government. And they don't like how aggressive the government is in southern Lebanon. A lot of them don't. A lot of them do. I'm not sure the exact numbers. Maybe it's split down the middle. But I'm well aware not as all Israelis support that. Let's see. And then Mark Levin chimping out on the Trump deal, too.
But as the victor, Iran should be paying us for the damage they did to our bases and the cost that we've had to occur, you and me, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer. Just
Are we dead ass? Are we serious? Hey, speaking of Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer, how much money are we paying to fund all of these airplanes, all of these weapons, all of these soldiers in the Middle East, all of these naval carriers? The military presence in the Middle East alone. You're talking about the military bases getting hit as a result of us starting the war? Talking about tax dollars. You should be the last person complaining about tax dollars. The war that you're desperate to keep going is going to keep taxes and inflation through the roof because they're going to block the strait. This guy is a joke.
Stop them from building a nuclear weapon to shoot at us.
But they weren't going to build a nuclear weapon. They were hedging one to protect themselves.
How about...
That's why they were at 60%. They could have built it. You listen, Iran could have built a nuke a long time ago. Newsflash. But they didn't, and there's a reason for that. It's a strategy that they were implementing. It didn't work because we still attacked them anyways. But if Iran really wanted a nuke, they would have made one. And I say that to say everybody in the Trump administration, all of the MAGA shills is saying, well, Iran can't have a nuke. It's like, bro, yeah, no one wants Iran to have a nuke, but bro, they weren't going to have a nuke. Had they wanted one, they would have certainly gotten one way before you ever stepped in.
Reparations for us. Number two, we declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including with Hezbollah. Another grave mistake in my view. Why are we doing Hezbollah's bidding when Israel is being attacked by Hezbollah and the Lebanese people and the government want Hezbollah gone? It's an Iranian terrorist group that has taken over the country. It's a complete capitulation to the Iranian regime because Hezbollah is its terrorist lifeline.
Don't you notice it's the same rhetoric every time? They carpet bomb Gaza. Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. Hamas is in that tent over there with nurses, clearly outside of it. Don't worry, Hamas. Now they want to annex Lebanon. Hezbollah, Hezbollah, Hezbollah everywhere. They're everywhere. What do you mean? Hezbollah was inside the Catholic Church. They were hiding behind the Jesus statue. We had to desecrate it. You know, like, bro, we've caught on to this. Maybe try something else.
It's an absolute capitulation of them.
He's pissed. He is pissed.
And why would we do this? Why would we do it to Israel?
Look at this nasty, filthy garbage. The U.S. pulls out of a war that does not benefit it at all, and now he's mad. But when the U.S. is involved in this war, this dude is jumping for joy. Him, Ben Shapiro, they're nasty. They are nasty. How disgusting. How vile. You know, bombs getting dropped on children, nothing. Nothing. Not a peep. Not a, well, I don't think that the Israeli military should have did that. You don't hear that from Shapiro. But God forbid the United States pauses a conflict that they started for Israel so that the global economy can see some sort of relief. And now it's all of this. I don't like what Donald Trump did. I think that was silly. I think, how could you take a picture with Mohammed Ghalibaf on Friday? Chimping out. These people should not be Americans at all. They really. I don't mean to sound like an extremist, but like this is the. You want to talk about anti-American rhetoric? That's about as bad as it can get. I'm not sure if I had the Ben Shapiro clip queued. No, I didn't, but it's crazy. Here, I actually can find it. Let's see. Look at this shit. Are you
I'm
kidding
noticing
me?
that Mohammed Khalibaf, who will apparently,
the parliament speaker,
on Friday, be literally in a photo op with the Vice President of the United States. I cannot express to you how stomach-turning that is.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Literally, like, can it? Save it. Like, bro, are we dead ass? It's comical. It's comical. Oh my God, I can't stomach the photo with Mr. Trump and Mohammed Khalibaf. You're such a... Oh my God.
I don't care who the vice president is. I don't care who the president is. Leaders of the United States of America in a photo op with a mass murdering terrorist supporter like Mohammed Khalibaf shaking hands 6 months after he blew away 42,000 innocent people in the streets.
It wasn't 42,000 innocent people. What are you talking about? That's the lie they all run with about the protesters.
And weeks after his administration was firing missiles at literally all of our allies in the region and continues to support every terrorist group in the region. And
why did he fire all of those missiles at our allies in the region? Because we attacked them for no reason, with no warning. And it was preemptive on Israel's behalf because they were going to strike first. Per Marco Rubio, 2 weeks after the conflict started, he had to admit. So everything that they've done has been a defensive response, unfortunately. I don't care to defend the Iranian regime, but that's just like common sense at this point. And omitting that is being dishonest and arguing always in bad faith, which is what these people do because they only care about Israel and their right to exist, which no country has threatened. Who's threatening Israel's right to exist? Iran has the proxy network. Iran is there fighting back because they're trying to exist. But when we make the same argument for them, now it's you're an IRGC spokesperson. No, I'm just using that logic that you use for Israel for Iran. They want to exist too, so obviously they're going to fight back and hit the U.S. where it hurts. Some low blows, I must admit. Yeah, hitting a desalination plant is pretty far. But have they got any other option? What are they going to do? Hit the U.S.? What are they going to do? Try and nuke the U.S.? They don't have the capability to do that, and if they did it, they'd get nuked before they even launched a nuke. So the best thing they could do is hit our military infrastructure in the Middle East and a little bit of critical infrastructure belonging to the Gulf countries so that we can lay off. Because that's what stopped the war. You do realize if Iran never exercised the ability in hitting all the Gulf countries in retaliation for U.S. aggression, we would have likely just continued the war until the country was plunged into darkness. So we forced their hand in that regard. Tell me exactly what other kind of response Iran would have been able to exercise if it wasn't attacking our allies in the region. What were they going to do? Hit the U.S.? They don't have intercontinental missiles. And thank God they didn't hit the U.S., actually. I don't want to see any other country get hit, but I sure as hell don't want to see the country I live in get hit. So, you know.
Currently continuing to control the strait. Like right now, it is not fully open for business unless the Iranians have, quote unquote, decided it is. The idea here...
You're damn right, because they control and they hold all the cards.
Is that somehow this administration and the deal that has been cut weakens Hezbollah. I'm not seeing it so much. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's there. Again, we haven't seen the MOU for the 1,000th time. We haven't seen the MOU. That's not because of me. I would like to see the MOU. I think you would like to see the MOU. Hell, I think we'd all like to see the MOU. If Israel is not a party to the actual talks, which they are not, they have not been included in the talks. If Israel is not a signatory to the agreement, which they are not, how in the world could you tie Israel's hands?
Israel doesn't want to be a part of the talks, dumbass. Why would Israel want to be a part of peace talks? They don't want peace. They want problems. They want to continue their offensive in Lebanon. Why would you be a part of talks that's going to destroy all of your chances of encroaching upon the borders and taking that buffer zone for your own, that being everything south of the Litani River, the security zone you call it? They want that. So no, they're not going to be a part of the talks. What sense does that make? They don't want talks to happen. And they would never go as far as to even enter those talks they don't want to happen, obviously. Doesn't take an expert to realize that. Look how he's making up these talking points out of thin air, trying to victimize Israel. Like, oh, Israel's not a part of the talks. They don't want to be a part of the talks. Despite what they say, their actions speak louder for them. Hey, Ben-Gvir is running around saying, Lebanon is our playground. All of Lebanon is ours. You think that same party wants to be a part of any sort of peace talks? That's asinine to suggest such a thing. This is false rhetoric, all laid out methodically so you can think that Israel is being undermined. No, they've undermined us, and we're finally taking some charge in trying to diffuse the issue that is costing us greatly. So it's like such a silly thing to say.
When it comes to self-defense in Lebanon, while Hezbollah is firing rockets and drones over the border at Israeli citizens, shall we say?
Firing rockets and drones because of the fact that you are destroying their homeland. You're destroying their supreme leader. You're destroying their guard corps, their military guard corps. You're destroying the IRGC. As a result, you will be destroying the axis of resistance. So you declared war on Lebanon on February 28th. You declared war on Hezbollah, rather. So that's why they're fighting back. That is why they're fighting back.
That this is not a popular MOU, from what I understand, in Israel. And again, Israel, they were flying jets alongside American jets during this whole operation. Iran was firing at American soldiers during this whole operation. So playing halvesies is a bit strange. If we release funds, or if we tell our Arab Gulf state allies to release funds to Iran,
I guarantee you he's going to bring up the fact that they're going to fund the proxies.
it doesn't have to be American taxpayer dollars. That is us releasing money to Iran. If you unfreeze money to a terrorist group, that is in fact money going to a terrorist group. It does not have to come from American. That's sleight of hand. It's rhetorical sleight of hand. I was not under the impression that you and I would be paying taxpayer dollars to go straight to Iran. But if we press people to release money to a terror state in order for them to continue to toll the strait and to exert control whenever they feel threatened, or for them to rebuild their ballistic missile and nuclear capacities, that is a gigantic mistake.
It's an L for the U.S. and Israel, but, I mean,
Go back.
You started this mess.
To the 5 standards of a good deal versus a bad deal. A bad deal would look like continued nuclear development. A bad deal would look like continued ballistic missile development.
Yeah, that's not going to be spoken about.
A bad deal would look like funding of terrorism abroad continuing.
Yeah, that's also not going to be spoken about.
A bad deal would look like continued Iranian control over the strait and tolling of the strait. And a bad deal would look like more funding going into Iran.
Yep, well, that's what happens when you start a war you can't get out of. You got to give them stuff you didn't want to give them in the beginning. If we never started the war, we'd have never had to deal with those issues that are not going to be beneficial to Israel. It sucks. It sucks for Ben Shapiro, but shouldn't have started that. Anyways, look, we'll react to Mohammed Hijab and Sneeko tomorrow. Let me see. I have a chat here. I'm sorry. Javier Lopez says, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey, yo, you pulling up to Utah to Tyler Robinson's preliminary hearing in Utah, setting up debate tables for Meyer and OSS 300. I'll see, yeah. I'll see if I have availability for that time. Definitely want to shoot for that, so I would love to go. We'll see, though. I'm going to have to play it by ear. But shout out to all of you guys in here. It was a great stream. I mean, again, one more Don DeMarco for the backdrop. Don DeMarco. Pretty nice. It is pretty nice. So, very happy with it. I think it was a smooth stream despite the poverty internet, so thank God. Described Voices says, glad to see you back. Keep the grinding going, my guy. Also, rate the Foids on After Hours. You want to rate them real quick? Let's rate the girls on After Hours. Let's go. Why not? Why not? Little fun bit. Let's see. See, look, bro. I'm telling you, my internet's chopped.
Oh, okay. Got you. Just go back to school, man.
All right. Let's say, okay, am I doing like a brutal looks maxing rating or am I doing like a realistic human rating? Because there's a difference, you know? So I guess, look, I'll just give you my honest opinion, I suppose. That's the point, right? We'll say 4.4. This is like a 2. This is girl in the middle. Let's see. Oh, maybe she's a 5. Okay, maybe a 5. This girl right here, this lovely lady, we're going to give her a 2. We're going to give this one a 3, maybe. Blonde chick right here, 6. And this Hispanic girl, let's see. Okay, Chris, hold on. We need to look at the girls. We're doing ratings. We're doing ratings, damn it. 6. 6, yeah. Not the hottest panel for sure. Not the hottest panel. The hottest one is probably the blonde. It's not because I'm listen, it's not that I'm not trying to be that way. All right. I'm just going to explain myself into guilt. So she just happens to be the hottest one and she's white, all right? Fuck off. All right, guys. Love all of you. Shapiro is a parasite. BFD, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I agree. He's gross. I'm on this MOU. Shut up, nigga. Hopefully this MOU stands, though. Look, I'll close out by saying this. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. I missed the super chat here. This is from David. David says, aside from more land, and please add if I'm missing something / don't know about, are there other reasons why they want to keep the war running? Do they make money somehow out of the war? I'm assuming that you're referring to Israel. No, I mean, no, it's just a land grab. That's what it is. You know, it's a land grab. They have the capability. They have the money. They have the support from the U.S. They have the progress that they've made with this war and how much ground they've covered in Lebanon. They have them seizing all of the high ground around the Litani River, Belfort Castle, in the ridge, I think, east of that. And so for them, it's like, why stop now? You know, it's a very opportunistic period and moment where they can continue to gain some coverage without really paying much back-end issue because of the fact that they've done a good deal of damage against Hezbollah. You know, the casualties are quite high. Hezbollah has killed a lot of IDF soldiers as well, but, you know, they made so much progress, they don't want to step back now. And also, it's like if this does all pause and Israel completely pulls out, how are they going to reignite and start this back up without Hezbollah being ready for it and able to deliver even more damage the second time around? You know, so for every single reason existing on the pro-Israeli side, they don't want to stop this. You know, they don't want to just stop this because Donald Trump is feeling a little bit of economic pressure. They could care less, obviously. So it is a land grab. That's what they want. That is what they want. That's what they want. They believe that we won't go that direction. I have to be careful. Javier says, what's up, Riyadh? Keep up the hard work. I get so heated on poverty internet. Thank you so much, man. Yo, I've been crashing out today. I almost like threw my computer. And I'm usually a calm person, but I like slammed my fist on the counter earlier so mad because I was working, you know, and everything was so damn slow. So I'm surprised the stream is running smooth right now. But thank you so much, Javier, for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Big supporter, member of the OSS 300. Salute to you. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So conclusion, really, to tie it all together, MOU is still in progress, Memorandum of Understanding. We are finding out new facts about what is actually comprised inside of the Memorandum of Understanding, Memorandum of Understanding, or at least what it is comprised of. So we'll continue to gather more facts and develop more facts as time progresses. However, again, we have the situation with Israel constantly trying to sabotage this deal in any way they can. And so they're going to continue to be aggressive in southern Lebanon. I would imagine they're going to use some sort of excuse like Hezbollah doing XYZ in order to justify further strikes, further attacks, further raids, further annexation, them recommending all of these villagers to leave, as they have been doing for the large part of the last 2 or 3 months. So there will be no change there. It's just going to depend on how badly the Iranians want the deal, because they'll watch all of this go on in southern Lebanon and ignore it, or they'll say, you know what, we're done talking, go get Israel, and they'll tell that to J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and everybody else who was a part of the U.S. envoy, probably Stephen Witkoff, Jared Kushner, whoever knows, you know, who knows what it's going to be. But yeah, that's really it. Love all of you guys. Really appreciate the love. Again, yo, some like Hellcat just drifted around the corner. That might have been Sneeko. But yeah, that's really it, guys. Love all of you. Jump over to Fresh and Fit. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link here. Jump over to, I just dropped the link. It's my brother's stream on YouTube. Going to pin that. Shout out to our moderators, Desert Joe, Tia. Who else is in here that's moderating? Shout out to all our members. Love all of you guys. Really appreciate the support. And yeah, that's really it. That is really it. So go rate FNF. Yeah, okay. I covered everything. Got all the super chats? All right. Love you guys. Have a great night, and I will be back. I'll be back at some point this week. We're not going to give a day. Have a great night, guys. Love you. Peace.